We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Do not forget to ring the notification bell. We could come on live again later on tonight. You got to make sure you are notified. If you want to support this true, independent, national, rebel outpost of college football, just hit that dollar sign where you make a comment and I will get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. I hope you all are having a great start of the new week, June 29th, on a Monday. We did not come on live yesterday on Sunday. We did not provide any content on Sunday. That is very unusual. But I was working. I was working for the PATC family, the community. Had a couple of very interesting conversations. And I guess it was a great reminder. This is not the Big Ten's timetable. This is not something they want to do. Let's take a step back for a moment. Let's take a step back a moment here. June 1st this year was the deadline for ACC schools to file the notice of withdrawal on or before June 1st to join a new conference July 1st of the following year. Here at Peek Around the Corner, we did not pay attention to that June 1st deadline at all. I don't even know if I even, other than the change, we did not do a countdown to it. Was like June 3rd. Somebody brought it up. Hey, it's June 3rd. It's 2 days after the deadline. We paid no attention to it because there was no chatter. There was nothing. It wasn't going to happen. It was something that it wasn't going to happen. And it did not happen. What's going on right now is something that the SEC, I'm going to focus on the Big Ten today because this is the information that we got over the weekend. Everything that we have reported to you from the people that we have talked to has been absolutely correct. Now, you don't have to agree with that. You can put in the comment section. You can give me a phone call. Everything that we reported to you, I believe, was confirmed by Ross Dellinger. The Big Ten has had to prepare for a quick strike. The schools have prepared for a quick strike. The conversations have picked up because of this Cruz-Cantwell bill. All of that is true. All of that is true. I believe that Ross Dellinger has gotten his story 100% correct. And in that story, he said nothing imminent, nothing done, but he showed everybody, little snippets of what Power 4 athletic directors and other leaders had to, other people had to say on it, like these schools might be screwed if they don't move before this bill becomes law, and there is a shot clock put on realignment right now. We called it a quick strike. Dellinger called it a shot clock. All of that reporting, I think, is 100% accurate. But there is another option, and the option is, even if this bill does get passed, the Big Ten is reluctant to expand at this time and may not expand. In fact, I think it's a slight shock that they will not expand at this time, at this very moment. This is what we are reporting to you. They are prepared. Like the Big Ten they don't control this whole thing. If they could, they would not be expanding at this time. And we'll give you all the reasons why, again, that this is the wrong time for the Big Ten to expand. But the Big Ten doesn't trust the SEC. The Southeastern Conference does not trust the Big Ten. They have both looked at silos. The Big Ten believes that the SEC is a little bit more gung-ho on going into their silo if things do not work out. The Big Ten is all in on the college football playoff with 24 teams. The SEC's not there yet. The Big Ten is prepared, but they'd rather not hit that button. Not right now. So these are very delicate times. And I will get into it. Why the Big Ten doesn't want to do it right now. The Big Ten believes it will cost them in negotiations with their media partners. We did an episode, early peak, Cloak and Dagger episode 67 for members. We did one early this morning, and we released it. I think about 77 members have watched it, and there's way more members that haven't watched it. Well, we're gonna cover it on this live show. There is a leverage game that the Big Ten loses if they expand now. The Big Ten has had this philosophy in which their media contracts go for 5 to 6 years. So they wouldn't have to negotiate. They wouldn't have to work for an extension during the middle of a contract. Because as we have explained before, if you expand the conference early or middle of your current contract, the media partners have the leverage. If you do it later on, right before, during the next media negotiations, you as the conference have the leverage on who you want, on the money, how it's distributed. You've got all this leverage. If the Big Ten does it now, they will not have that leverage. Plus, and we'll get back into it at the back end of the monologue. The Big Ten has a long candidate list. Long, big one, as we have reported. We believe the top of the Big Ten candidate list is, other than Notre Dame, put that to the shelf. Other than Notre Dame, it is, as we've been saying, North Carolina, then Miami. That is true today. It was true 2 years ago. It was true 3 years ago, as we reported here at Peek Around the Corner. And Virginia, of course. Virginia is up there as well. And the SEC, it's North Carolina as well. Along with Virginia and then Clemson and Florida State, we believe. But the Big Ten may not be able to get North Carolina. Big Ten may not be able to get a North Carolina, Virginia. The Big Ten wants to have all of their options on the table. As many options as possible. They want to be able to be in the talks, or soon to be in the talks, with potential new media partners. They want as many of their candidates, potential candidates, they have the opportunity to join the Big Ten. In other words, if the Big Ten expanded now, and they might do the quick strike. This is why they prepared for it. All that has been true. But if the Big Ten does it now, Some of their options are not really on the table. The Kansas option is really not on the table. The Utah option is not really on the table. The Big Ten may find themselves needing to expand. That's why they have prepared for the quick strike. Something that they were not doing before. Not before this Cruz-Cantwell bill. There is a seismic change going on, as we reported to you, a week, 5 days before the Ross Dellinger article came out. All that was true. The Big Ten has done stuff, the SEC has done stuff, and the schools themselves have prepared. They've jacked it up. But the Big Ten they might have to do it, but they don't want to do it now. The conference does not want to do it now. Because they think they're going to lose out on the leverage. If they do it now, they're going to have to sign some type of deal, probably an extension, and it's not going to be as fruitful as if they can just wait just a little bit longer. Having said all of that, the same Big Ten sources, and people have talked to me on this, also believe that the Big Ten ain't going to wait to 2030-31, that they're going to have that good leverage in about 2028, late 2027. This is too early. But again, the Big Ten doesn't control everything. They don't always get what they want. The Cruz and Cantwell bill has ignited this quick strike potential. And the Southeastern Conference is not happy. The Southeastern Conference does not trust the Big Ten. The Southeastern Conference has a mind of its own. And the Big Ten is fully aware of that. The Southeastern Conference believes that the Big Ten just screwed them going in 9 conference games. But not having the Big Ten acquiesce and say, okay, we'll go from 12 playoff teams to 16. So the Big Ten acknowledges internally that the SEC is an extreme wild card here. So the Big Ten has prepared. The SEC has prepared. It's a very dangerous time because everyone's got an itchy finger and the fingers are on the trigger. But I believe this live show has to be done because everyone's got to be reminded, including myself, this was not the Big Ten's plan. It wasn't. It's why we have confidently said, day after day after day after day, nothing is imminent out there. There's a lot of talking. There's a lot of NDAs. There's a lot of talking. We know some of it at Peek Around the Corner. But nothing has been imminent because it just hasn't. This is not the Big Ten's plan. Now, we're going to learn a lot more here. We are going to learn a lot more. There is this, how do I say this? It's been expressed to me. There is a logical thinking. There is the economic thinking. There is this long-term planning. Right? But then there's this emotional thing. Emotions get into this. the Colorado decision to be the spear, the tip of the spear when it came to the Big 12 expansion, that was a little bit of emotion in Colorado's thinking. It wasn't all logic. There was a little bit of emotion there. If and when this vote becomes scheduled in the Senate, that's going to be an earthquake. We don't know what the scale of the earthquake is going to be. It could be more than a tremor, but it might be a 4.5. But it could be a 7.2. We're not going to know. We're not going to know. But there is going to be okay, this thing, if and when it's set up for a vote, then we're going to have to do a reset and again, the Florida State money perch gave us an insight into what Florida State and what they believe other ACC schools are ready to go into emergency sessions when that vote is scheduled. That is what Florida State believes, the Florida State money perch. So, again, this could be where the SEC not trusting the Big Ten not trusting the SEC, and we could have a big old quick strike going on. But the logical part of this, the Big Ten, they do not want to do this. Not at this time. But want and need are two different things. And I'll tell you one other thing. We'll get back into this. There's a lot of cloak and dagger going on. And there is a lot of schools communicating, of course, with these conferences. But there's a lot of Big Ten, is spying the wrong word? There is intelligence gathering from the Big Ten we know of and the SEC, but we know more of the Big Ten of what the other conferences is thinking and what they could be doing. We have been told at this time, again, this was June 28th. I'm sure the information is still good for June 29th. The Big Ten still not operational when it comes to the expansion. This still is not the USC story. This is still not the Washington-Oregon story between July 27th and August 4th. This still is not the hot bubble of action with the Big 12 met with Colorado. We have been told again on the 28th, the Big 10 still isn't there. And I think the biggest reason is because they don't want to go there. But they're prepared. The SEC, the Southeastern Conference, is probably a little bit more willing to press that button. So we're going to get into we got a spotlight team, the Ole Miss Rebels, team number 61 on our spotlight. 61. Number 60 was Indiana Hoosiers on a Saturday. Oregon, Texas. Today it will be the Ole Miss Rebels and PATC. In our way too early predictions, well, we got the Ole Miss Rebels going back to the playoffs. Look, a lot of SEC people and PATC family, they're not too happy with me because we do not have Oklahoma in the playoffs. We do not have Alabama in the playoffs. We've got Ole Miss. We've got Ole Miss, we've got Texas, we've got Georgia, we got LSU, and we got Ole Miss. Now, granted, we get it. There's some little bit of question marks and weakness on the Ole Miss team this year. I think they might have dropped a little bit in talent in the wide receiver room. The secondary is questionable. A very interesting linebacker crew. Still a decent defensive line. They did not have one of the great defenses last year. They overcame a mediocre defense at best. This year, their defense is a little interesting. Their linebacking crew, they made some changes. And it's going to be a better linebacking crew than they had last year. The offense, the wide receiver room, the running back, Keywan Lacey, absolutely brilliant. The quarterback, absolutely brilliant. We're going to get into the Ole Miss, and the special teams. Absolutely brilliant for the Ole Miss Rebels. We'll get into all that. But first, we got to do the roll call. And then we got to give you an update on the I Do Declare World Championship. College football I Do Declare World Championship right here at Peak around the corner. We've got Carson 369. We are live. We are live. Thank you for starting us off, Mr. Carson 369. I appreciate it. Thank you, Carson. We are live. We've got Noah Berman. The Utah Ute is in the house, and he has added another I Do Declare. I do declare Kentucky will have a 500 record or better. Okay, we will book that in, Noah Berman. I'm probably going to give that a 2. Not a 1, not a 3. I think 2 is the good number. I am a big supporter of Mr. Minchie, the new quarterback for the Kentucky Wildcats. Of course, they got C.J. Baxter in the backfield. Of course, the new coach, I think we're going to give it a 2. I cannot give you more than 2. Valuation of 2, Noah Berman. We will lock that in. And we also have a membership, Nick Kelso, the Arkansas Razorback. Holy smokes. How many months? 30 months. 30 months, Nick Kelso has been a member of the PATC family. You are knighted cloak and dagger, sir. Cloak and dagger. Greg, did Florida State Money Perch list any schools excluded from the SEC and Big Ten expansion list? If so, are you clear to share it? No. He would not know that. I don't think, no. Nope. Thank you, Nick Kelso. I appreciate it, sir. Appreciate it very much. Farmer boys, I'm glad Greg isn't picking Clemson this year. He hurt us last year. No, Farmer boys. You want me to pick your team this year. Last year, I was Greg the Cooler. This year, I am Greg the Gold. Greg the Gold. You all are going to learn. All of you are going to learn. All of you are going to learn. Memphis Grizzly traded Ja Morant to the Portland Trail Blazers. Good luck, Portland. Good luck, Portland. You're going to need it. Ja Morant, his game has completely tailed off. Although Portland did not have to pay much to get him. All right, let me do a quick roll call here. I do thank you. We've got Mohr Simmons. I did not see that, Mohr Simmons. I apologize. Mohr Simmons, 5 gifted memberships. My goodness. Sam 8911, Jason A, N Tawell, Ag Del Music, and Joe Peck, all were given a membership. by the incredible generosity of Mr. Seminole Morris Simmons. All of you are united. Cloak and Dagger. That means you all can go to a library of episodes, watch all the episodes, including the early peak Cloak and Dagger member-only episodes. We dropped one just this morning, episode 67. We also got over 500 episodes of that anybody can watch, episode for the masses. So go check it out. Thank you, Morris Simmons. We can get an opportunity. Please say thank you to Morris Simmons for his incredible generosity. Thank you, Mr. Simmons. I appreciate it. You're an incredible family member. I'm so very humbled for all your support, all your phone calls, all your generosity. Thank you, sir. Very much appreciate it. Thank you. Sam8911 already has said thank you, Mr. Morris. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Incredible generosity. Thank you. Helping us keep the lights on, growing the channel. Let's do the quick roll call here. We got a lot of people coming on in. We've came on a little early. CFB Mafia is in the house. He's saying the PCSA will not pass. We got Cranky Tiger, Mama Duck Clemson Tiger. Jason is in the house. MBM Oklahoma State Cowboy. We've got Josh Irby, Old Dad, Noah Berman, Lee Go Gators. Amy is in the house. Jason is here. Joaquin Morales is in the house. The notorious Sun Devil, Al Bundy, is here. Florida Man, Skaven, yes. The Cornhusker. John Hatfield is here. Jerry Astiz is here. Greg will be wearing more gold than Mr. T. That's right. Absolutely correct. That is an absolute correct statement from Jerry. Beautiful. Edward the Auburn Tiger is in the house. D5 Terps. Benjamin Griffin. Jose is here. RFR Mac. As a Utah Ute, you probably don't want to get this thing over with. Hint, hint. Wink, wink. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina is in the house. Cornelius Jones is here. John Dry. Adam Rogue. Caleb Ramirez. Who else came on in here? John Famlor. Appreciate it. And we got the Irish Ryan. We've got John Boxleitner. Combining the show with the lasso, SEC gives Virginia Tech an alert. But the Big Ten we're not saying, well, okay, that means Virginia not heading the Big Ten. I don't know if we said all that. Big Ten may expand, but look, they don't want to right now. It's not in their wheelhouse, but they may need to. We'll see what the Southeastern Conference actions are. We did not report that the Big Ten is not expanding, but it's not the chalk. Tumasta is in the house. Appreciate it, Tumasta. Thank you very much. Okay. Not the chalk at this time. We have been reminded that this is not the Big Ten's optimum result during this part of the calendar in June, July, and August of 2026. This cuts down on their leverage, on the amount of money they can make as a conference, and all that stuff. This is their belief. So I'm giving, but they prepared. Both of them can be true at the same time, and both of them are true at the same time. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to, first of all, before we get to the spotlight, we have an update We have an I do declare update. Yes, we do. Did we go through this already? No, I don't think we did. Gophers empty trophy case. Jonathan Weaver. Gophers lose to all of Michigan, Penn State, Iowa, and Wisconsin. Ryan Willie, PJ Fleck will be fired by the end of the season. A couple of anti-Gopher I do declare. I don't know about that. Number 99, Indiana will not make the playoffs. Cranky Tiger. And I do declare number 100. Number 100, Wisconsin will win 3 out of the 4. Penn State, Iowa, Minnesota, USC, Badger-born mouth fan, an evil Badger that he is. He gets number 100, I do declare. That is your I do declare. I do declare World Championship update. And now we're going to go on to the spotlight. Our 61st spotlight of this off season. We've got 7 more Power 4 programs to go. And then we're going to do a bunch of G6 programs that we believe has a shot to get in the college football playoffs. A Boise State. Right? A Boise State. I don't want to give too much away. And East Carolina is going to be part of our spotlight. You know who else is going to be part of our G6 spotlight? Western Michigan Broncos. That's right. And they play Boise State, I believe, on September 19th. A big non-conference G6 game here in this season. The Ole Miss Rebels. Of course, you start with the brilliant quarterback, Trinidad Chambliss. Brilliant season last year. Number 8 in the Heisman Trophy race. Almost 4,000 yards passing. Nobody thought that this guy was going to do what he did. Austin Simmons getting a little bit nicked up. Trinidad Chambliss taking his spot. 22 touchdowns. Only 3 interceptions. 66.1 completion percentage. 155.4 quarterback rating. 527 yards rushing. 4 average. Now again, you got to take sack yards. That's all a part of it. 8 rushing touchdowns. Absolutely brilliant season from Trinidad Chambliss. And he gets to have another year according to the courts in the state of Mississippi. Chambliss is coming back. Ole Miss, they're going to make the playoffs once again. Greg the Gold, Ole Miss is going back to the playoffs. Starting with this man, Mr. Chambliss. A brilliant college quarterback. And I think is going to be a brilliant NFL quarterback. I would take him in a heartbeat. Minnesota Vikings. Mr. Chambliss, let's go. Now the running back, Kewan Lacey. A beast, a truck, a workhorse. Over 1,500 yards rushing. 5.1 average per rush. 24 rushing touchdowns. Holy smokes. 24 rushing, 29 receptions out of the backfield. 177 yards receiving, 6.1 average per reception. Absolute workhorse. He is coming back this year. Chambliss and Lacey, oh my. Now, the receiver room. Not as spectacular as the Buckeyes, as the Hurricanes. Deuce Alexander, good receiver. not the Deuce Alexander of the Florida State Seminoles. Deuce Alexander, Ole Miss, 44 receptions, 684 yards receiving, 15.5 average per reception, 2 receiving touchdowns. Very good wide receiver for Ole Miss. They had to go in the portal. They had to get a wide receiver number 2. They got some other guys. But they went out and they got Syracuse Darrell Gill Jr. We talked about Darrell Gill Jr. when we did the Syracuse spotlight. The Orange lost a couple of young dudes that they thought would grow with Steve Angeli for the next year here. Steve Angeli got injured, the starting quarterback of Syracuse. But now Syracuse is relying on a couple of dudes that have got, they were injured last year. Syracuse have got no production coming back from the wide receiver room. One of the reasons is because this young man left Syracuse to go to Ole Miss to play for Golding, to play for Trinidad Chambliss. 32 receptions last year, had about 31 receptions the year before, 506 yards receiving, 15.8 average per reception, 5 receiving touchdowns. So, the wide receiver room at Ole Miss, maybe not what they were, right? They still got Lacey. They still got Trinidad Chambliss. Now, this is the time in the Spotlight program that I usually highlight a defensive player for Ole Miss. But I'm not going to do that. It doesn't mean that Ole Miss doesn't have a defensive player that is worthy of the spotlight. They do. They've got Perkins, their longtime linebacker. They got some defensive tackles. They got a very interesting linebacker crew. Remember Keaton Thomas, the Baylor linebacker? He went in the portal. He's an Ole Miss linebacker. Keaton Thomas can play. Any Baylor Bear will tell you that. And one other linebacker that Ole Miss got in the portal. Remember the Luke Farrelly story? Who went to Clemson? Who was going to be the Clemson starting linebacker? Ole Miss gave him a call while he was in class at Clemson. Yeah, Luke Farrelly is going to be a starting linebacker for the Ole Miss Rebels. The secondary, there's a lot of question mark in the secondary. So, the last spot on the spotlight, we could not give to a defensive player. We're not going to give it to another offensive player because if you are going to do an Ole Miss spotlight, you cannot leave out this man. Lucas Carnero, an incredible field goal kicker for Ole Miss. Spectacular. He transferred 2 years ago from Western Kentucky to Ole Miss. He drilled long field goals after long field goals. 56 of 56 extra point. He's 144 in his career. 31 of 35. Field goal made, field goal attempts. Kicked a 56, 57-yarder against Georgia. 149 points. First in the SEC. Second in the NCAA. He's an absolute weapon for Ole Miss. There's no way you can do an Ole Miss spotlight without putting this young man in there. Holy smokes. The field goal kicker for Ole Miss, the best in the country. Ole Miss football schedule. They begin the season against Louisville. Against Jeff Brom. Klein Holtz, the quarterback. Isaac Brown, the running back. There's going to be some points scored in that game. Sunday night, ABC. I'm going to do all I can to do a watch party on that game. Ole Miss, Louisville. Then they start the SEC conference play against LSU at home, on the road to Florida, on the road to Vanderbilt, at home against Missouri, on the road against Texas, at home against Auburn and Georgia, at Oklahoma. Look, and then they play the Egg Bowl on Friday, November 27th. They play Oklahoma, they play Georgia, they play Texas, they play LSU. Now, obviously, I've got Ole Miss in the playoffs, right? I've got them coming in fourth in the SEC. So I've got Ole Miss defeating Oklahoma. And I have to have Ole Miss defeating either Georgia or LSU to get in there as a 10-2 SEC team. But look at that schedule. Look at that schedule. Again, in a way too early SEC predictions, and I do not believe I'm going to be moving this around. We've got Ole Miss at number 4. Ole Miss at number 4. And we got Ole Miss getting that last at-large spot at number 11. 10-2, 9-3, we shall see. But we think the Ole Miss Rebels are going to sneak in to the college football playoffs. So, that has been our spotlight for Ole Miss. They have got, their superstars are superstars. I'm talking Trinidad Chambliss, K'Wan Lacey, and their incredible field goal kicker, Canaro. What about Pete Golding? He's their new coach from day one. Does he have the chops? Does he have the gravitas? Is he the man that can lead Ole Miss from day one to the end of the season to get the Rebels back in the playoffs? I'm going to bet they get back in the playoffs. Let me know how wrong I got it once again. Put it down in the comments in the chat room below the video. Let me know what you think. But this has been the 61st spotlight during the offseason. This has been the Ole Miss Rebels. Section 205. That part of the Cantwell bill, the Cruz-Cantwell bill, Protecting College Sports Act. Of course, the Big Ten and the SEC were against it. Now that bill affects the ACC and the Big 12 and that they can't expand, it's just locked in by government decree. A government decree that the Big Ten believes that they're going to beat in the courts at some point if it passes. But it's also Section 205 is now causing a lot of talk and issues among G6 schools. Because now they know that they can't move up to the Big 12. They can't move up to the ACC. They can't be a part of a backfill. They can't be a part of anything. They're locked out of Power 4 conferences. They're locked out according to the Cruz-Cantwell bill. And they do not like it. There is a growing grass fire against Section 205. Take it out, Cruz. Take it out, Cantwell. And maybe, just maybe, we can get the bill passed. There's a few other things that need to be worked on in that bill. But that is a big one. Listen to this from the Denver Post. The Denver Post, Sean Keeler, Fort Collins, Colorado State is against this bill, Section 205. John Weber is loving Colorado State's move to the Pac-12 neighborhood Wednesday. The idea of the Big 12 and the ACC becoming gated communities, yeah, not so much. Now, Colorado State does not like the idea that the Big 12 and the ACC are becoming gated communities. It makes no sense to me to make at this point in time a decision that no one can ascend or descend. The Rams athletic director told the Denver Post recently, that's irresponsible. It is. It's stupid. And I think it gets defeated in the courts. Private, nonprofit association, these conferences can't choose their members is by freedom on both sides is absolutely ridiculous. Cruising can't will. Our conversation had turned to the Protect the College Sports Act, which could soon be up for a vote in the Senate, and specifically its impact on the group of 6 schools such as Colorado State. Weber likes a lot of what's in the bill, save for Section 205. If the Protect College Sports Act becomes law, it could lock in conference membership at the highest level of college sports as is. The musical chairs at the top of the NCAA food chain would come to a screeching halt. Section 205 of the Protect College Sports Act, as written, prohibits collegiate conferences that generate at least $700 million in revenue from merging with one another or adding new members. The Big 12, ACC, SEC, and Big 10 are all expected to meet or exceed that benchmark in 25-26 fiscal year. If you look at the active troops, university as a whole, of our Colorado State, 34,000 students, 277,000 plus alumni, strong academics, Tier 1 Carnegie classification, research institution, great college town, and it is. Fort Collins is a great college town. Been there, love it, did not want to leave it. Great facilities, all that stuff. We have a stress. We look just like a Big 12 school. That's exactly Big 12 school, right? If not, it's pretty darn close. Now we have to consistently deliver better on the athletic leg of that stool, Weber said, but it's certainly something that we want to make sure we keep in our sights, and we continue to work toward the opportunity there for Colorado State to ascend. Weber not trying to stick the Rammies cart before any horses, just to be clear. He just learned post-COVID-19 pandemic that universities would be nuts to burn any bridge with a bigger payout on the other side of the gorge. CSU, Colorado State, isn't exactly walking gingerly into the Pac-12 phase on Wednesday either. Now, Wednesday's July 1st, so Colorado State becomes an official member of the Pac-12. Jim Mohr, plucked from a successful run at UConn, is now the highest paid coach in the newly reconfigured conference, $2.4 million a year, with higher expectations to match. Canvas Stadium, a beautiful stadium, is getting a new rug for the first time in about 7 years. Moby Arena has a new court coming. Last month, during the university's annual Day of Giving, athletics raised $1.5 million in donations over 24 hours. Weber says in its first giving 2 years brought in only $67,000. There have been some things that maybe somewhat quietly, maybe somewhat not quietly, that I think pointing towards some real momentum at Colorado State, Weber said, including, he added, his new league. The huge thing that's going to help us going into the Pac-12 is that every single one of our games is on linear platforms. The Colorado State administrator said, that's massive. That opportunity for us to compete and have people watch us, that's where the value comes. Eyeballs matter. Rivalries matter too, even with television networks pulling the strings for college sports behind the scenes and chucking geography out a 6-story window. Weber made it a point of preserving the Wyoming series as a non-conference enterprise. But Air Force looks to be in the rearview mirror. Air Force is staying in the Mountain West Conference. Wyoming is staying in the Mountain West Conference. We're still 3 years away, 2029, from the renewal of the Rocky Mountain Showdown with the Colorado Buffaloes. I know Buffs athletic director Fernando Lovell, actually from his time at New Mexico. We have not had a conversation around the future of the Showdown. We've talked about other things. We haven't talked about that yet. It's not a no. It's not a I'm not interested. Literally, we just haven't talked about it yet. Realignment since 2021 has made for strange bedfellows all over the map. The 4 former Pac-12 powers snatched up by the Big Ten. Stanford in California, Bastions of the Bay in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Yet the new Pac-12 is a particularly curious marriage of oddball brethren. The football membership in particular is rooted in provincial programs that were snubbed by the Big Ten, Big 12, or ACC, Washington State, and Oregon State during the latest acquisition phase, or a big mid-majors, Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State, that never quite made the cut to join the big boys despite repeated pitches. That sort of approach in Section 205 has the possibility of harming what really is our core mission of higher education, Weber continued. This is the PATC money shot of the article. It's groundbreaking research and educating our youth. And if we look at it through that lens, if you are consolidating and put it in a gate, in other words, putting up the walls at the Power 4 conferences, if you are consolidating athletic and therefore marketing power within a relative few, it's not unreasonable to think that you could be challenging the educational research missions of a whole lot of schools, right? And that's what we've talked about at Peek Around the Corner. If you're going to do this to the athletic field, government, you can do this to the research field. If you're going to say this is it, nobody can ascend, you can do that with research as well. If you think you have that power, government, if you think that's the right way to use your power. And the Colorado State athletic director agrees with the fat guy from Minnesota. Although Section 205 at present feels more specifically targeted at the largest football brands in the ACC, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, several which have been or will be on the radar as potential SEC and Big Ten additions. Let's put it this way. If the Buffs, Colorado Buffaloes, got an offer to join the Big Ten next week, you couldn't get them to Columbus or Ann Arbor quick enough. And finally, in the article, our opportunity to compete at the FBS level enables our ability to attract more people to Colorado State, Weber noted. People include students. It includes faculty. It includes a lot of people that make this enterprise go. And the Protect College Sports Act is going to be incredibly important to not just Colorado State, but a whole bunch of schools that would be in that bucket. So, the Denver Post, the athletic director of Colorado State, makes it perfectly clear. Colorado State supports the Protect College Sports Act if you get rid of Section 205. That is what's holding everything up. That is the great drama. There's other issues of the act as well. I mean, you know, that act, if it passes, it's going to take millions of dollars out of the players' hands without any representation. It's going to treat associated entities the money that comes to them in the NIL deals, and that's going to go against the cap. There's things in this bill that a lot of people do not like besides Section 205, but that was the big part of this article. So Colorado State, they want to have the ability to ascend, and they can't. It's Section 205 is in the bill, and the bill passes. All right, so that great article in the Denver Post. NBN, San Diego State would get an invite to the Big 12 before Colorado State. Tim, Colorado State Rambling Ram. Thanks for coming on in. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're talking about your Rams, Tim. We're talking about your Rams. Once in a while, we talk about the Rams. And you know what? When we do the spotlight, Colorado State is one of the teams we're going to spotlight. So we are going to do a spotlight series. Colorado State's going to be included. Mainly because you've got to include them because of the new head coach who had a very successful reign at UConn, Mr. Jim Mohr. So you have to include them. Colorado State will be part of our spotlight. All right. Thank you all for the 193 people that are watching this program. Make sure you subscribe, turn on the notifications, smash that like button. I appreciate it. Okay, let's get to it. As we have reported in a members only episode 67, early P Cloak and Dagger member, episode 67. And what we're going to be talking about right now is this quick strike that the Big Ten has been preparing for, been doing its due diligence, has ramped up the talks and discussions with other schools. They have alerted the schools to get ready, just in case we do the quick strike. We reported all of that here at Peek Around the Corner. All of that. For about 3 solid days. Bam, bam, bam. With all different stories. The Florida State money perch, Big Ten, the confirmation that all options are on the table. It's not the chalk. And then out of nowhere, the Ross Dellinger article came out and it confirmed all of our reporting. But we got a reminder this weekend. And we're going to deliver the reminder to you all today. Both things can be true at one time. And both things are true at one time. All the preparation, all the speed up of communication, all the alerts saying we might have to do this, schools prepare, all of that stuff. But yet the Big Ten would rather not. This does not fit the Big Ten's timetable. The Big Ten, the next time they expand, they want to know that they have got as much leverage as they possibly could have. It doesn't mean they have to wait all the way until they start the new media rights negotiation, but close enough. This is not close enough. When you have the leverage, you can dictate more of what you want as a conference. The presidents get that their votes become more important. Right now, their votes are less important. It's the media company's vote that is more important. The media company can give 50 cents, 40 cents, 30 cents on the dollar. The Big Ten, they want to be able to strike a deal that gives Oregon and Washington a full, give them their full slate of money that that should be coming to them. Do they want to bring in a couple more schools that get 50 cents, 40 cents on the dollar? So, especially if those are schools that really may not be on the SEC target list. Now, of course, North Carolina is on both target lists. North Carolina, top of the Big Ten target list other than Notre Dame, top of the Southeastern Conference target list. We reported that on June 15th of 2024. It is 2 years since we reported that. It's still true today. The Big Ten has not given up on North Carolina. The SEC has not given up on North Carolina. North Carolina, at this time, they're not ready to move. They can't move. And so if the number one target is out the list for the SEC, now there's been a lot of conversations. There are schools, as the Florida State Money Perch told us, Florida State needs North Carolina to get themselves ready. We have been told, we reported to you all, that the chatter behind the curtain, these outlets, these national outlets and their big old staffs, we are a staff of one here at Peek Around the Corner. One, their staffs, they're hitting that refresh button. They're making sure that no meeting pops up on the North Carolina Board of Governors. I think their next meeting is July 23rd. I think their next meeting is July 23rd, the North Carolina Board of Governors. They're going to make sure that there's not another meeting that pops up before then, an emergency meeting. That's why, as we have been told by now everybody, the chatter, BTM, Florida State Money Perch, what is the effect? The emotional effect? All of it. What is the effect? What is going to happen if and when that Senate schedules the vote on Cantwell and Cruz bill? When that happens, if it happens, we're going to come live. There's going to be a lot of reporting. There's going to be a lot of reactions to it. Unlike June 1st of this year, when we didn't even pay attention to that date at Peek Around the Corner. There was nothing there. There was no steam. There was nothing, ladies and gentlemen. We didn't even cover it. From January to June, beyond June, that date of filed notice of withdrawal, it wasn't going to happen. Nobody was going to do it. This is a little bit different. The schools now know that the timetable might be sped up. The quick strike is in play. Not quite the chalk. We don't think it's quite the chalk. But it's a miracle that it's even in play. This was not scheduled. This was not supposed to happen. The Big Ten doesn't trust the SEC. This SEC doesn't trust the Big Ten. They know pretty much who their targets are in both conferences. They both know they've been targeting North Carolina. North Carolina has exit hatch issues. Big Ten, they do not want, this is something that they don't want to do. We're at this time. It'd be a lot easier if we could wait another year, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. June 29th of 2028, June 29th of 2027, or May 30th of 2027 or 28, but not in 2026. All of it is true. The Big Ten is prepared for a quick strike. They got their finger on the trigger, but they rather not it happen. They don't want it to happen. Now, one other thing, one important part of this is we talked about, we were given some information, we released it to you. if this bill passes, where does the Big Ten, as it's written today, where does the Big Ten want to fight the battle? In large part, the Big Ten would want to fight the battle of, we as a private nonprofit organization should be able to choose our own members. They think they can win on that. So the next question is, and so does a lot of people, the next question is do you want to fight that battle after actively attempting to add on to your conference, or doing it without actively adding on to your conference? In other words, if the Big Ten does a quick strike and adds School A and School B, and that gets a reaction from Cruz and Cantwell, we take it to the courts, that's one option for the Big Ten. The other option is the bill passes and they have not expanded. That's higher risk but either way, you've got to win that battle in the court. And the Big Ten feels pretty confident that battle is going to be won. Constitutionally, I mean, it literally doesn't, whatever. You can think the Big Ten is incorrect, but I'm just saying that's what the Big Ten believes, and the SEC. And all the lawyers and everybody that you read on X and everywhere else. But the Big Ten, there is some high intelligence gathering going on. We know this 100%. Part of the reason why the Big Ten has prepared for the quick strike, why we were able to give you that early information, the early peek around the corner, is because of the actions of the SEC. There is some intelligence that the SEC is gathering themselves for the potential blowback politically and everything else of doing the quick strike, breaking away, and telling everybody to screw off. We've been telling you they're not that into us. All of us. So that's why that is a major component to why the Big Ten has prepared for the quick strike. And the SEC is a little bit more motivated than the Big Ten. So to answer the question that's always asked, Greg, who do you think goes first? We've always said we believe the Southeastern Conference would go first. But of course, it could end up that the Big Ten, knowing that the SEC is going to do something on a Wednesday, they do something on a Tuesday with another, whatever. But SEC is the more motivated conference. It's the easier conference to do it. They've got one media partner. And if you recall, Ross Dellinger has given 2 different reports on 2 different days. He's given everybody the hint. And he said that the SEC is likely to go into early meeting negotiations with ESPN. It is easier for the SEC to pull the trigger. Not only that, that's one component. That's an important component. But there's another component. Currently in the SEC's media contract with ESPN, expansion, if they expanded the conference, the schools would get pro rata. They would get the full freight. That also makes it easier for the SEC to expand. But I want to give everybody a little bit of a. It's not a free ride. In other words, yeah, the SEC may have it in the contract that they can extend 2 invitations, 4 invitations, and those schools automatically get a pro rata. But the SEC will not, most likely not do that without ESPN saying, okay. So, but it's just another example. The SEC is more motivated. It's easier from a media partner. They've got one, and the pro rata. Also, there's other intangibles. There's a person. There are certain personalities within the SEC that, and we're not talking Sankey. We're talking some presidents, and some natural, cultural access to schools that are on their candidate list. They can make this happen easier. So that is our news for you today. The Big Ten, all of that has been true. All the reporting has been accurate. Very fortunate to give you the accurate reporting. Nothing imminent at this time. Nothing done. Nobody has given. There's no handshake deals. But the Big Ten has had to prepare themselves for the quick strike. And the schools know that they have. And they're preparing themselves. And of course, the Southeastern Conference has as well. So, both of them can be true at the same time. Both of them happen to be true at the same time. Preparation, high risk either way. But the Big Ten really doesn't want to do it right now. They really do not want to do it right now. Let's go to your super chats and your phone calls. Again, I thank everybody for joining us. Appreciate it. We've got Helmer Henderson, $5 holler. Plus there's Big Ten candidates that are unable to move right now, but in a couple of years from now, they will be able to move. That's another component to this. Everything lines up. SEC is more motivated, easier to do it. They can do it, acting first, versus the Big Ten. Hammer Hennessy, state of Virginia was frozen, but now Virginia told to be ready. What gives? Sorry if I already addressed. Yeah, a lot of people are having, look, there may not be any difference between Virginia and Virginia Tech. The Florida State, I want everybody to be clear here. I want everybody to understand. The Florida State Money Purge, if you go back to our Saturday night show, reread parts of an email that the Florida State Money Purge sent to us. And then more information, because we gathered more information after that initial email was sent to us. Virginia Tech, according to the Florida State Money Purge, Virginia Tech got an alert. According to boosters at Virginia Tech, they got the same thing that other schools have to say, look, the timetable, maybe things are going to be sped up. All this is through intermediaries, third-party talks, right? Florida State got the same thing as Virginia Tech got the same thing as Florida State did. It doesn't mean that Virginia did not get it. In fact, I would probably, I think it's very safe to assume, but I'm just assuming that Virginia got the same thing. Because Virginia is high on the SEC candidate list and the Big Ten candidate list. So that's that. I mean, there is no more to that. Just a little bit of information. Florida State Money Purge telling us that there's Virginia Tech people that have made people at Florida State and others aware that yes, they've gotten the same alert. Virginia's probably in the same boat. We just don't have that information. Thank you, Helmer Hennessy. Thank you for the $5 holler. Very much appreciate it. We've got Anthony Carlson, Mr. Spartan. Anthony Carlson, I do declare, no joke, that Michigan State will go 4-8 this upcoming season. Now, Anthony, I got a question for you. Do you want me to put it as they're not going to do any better than 4-8, or they're not going to do any worse than 4-8, or are they going to do exactly 4-8? To call the exact record of Michigan State going 4-8, that is a 5-point value, I do declare. But if you're saying Michigan State will do 4-8 or better, or they're going to do 4-8 and worse, then the valuation points are going to be 3, 2, or 1. Let me know what you mean by that, Anthony Carlson. As it is written right now, I will go with you're predicting exactly 4-8. And if you're going to predict that exact record, that's a 5-point valuation, because you're going to get it right on. You're going to get it exactly correct, and that is a big, bold, I do declare. Thank you, Anthony Carlson. Thank you for the $10 holler, Helmer Hennessy. Appreciate it. We've got Helmer Hennessy super chat. If the Big Ten adds schools, isn't the Southeastern Conference forced also to do so to prevent the Big Ten from adding schools the SEC wants? I guess you could say that, although the Big Ten rather not do it right now. I mean, that's the Big Ten is going to keep gathering intelligence. They're going to be watching SEC. Big Ten are talking with people in these schools. Intermediaries. The SEC is talking to the same ones. Some of the time. Maybe not all the time. You've got people. There's all sorts of things going on. Like the Big Ten has always wanted to know what the Southeastern Conference is going to do next. Not just about their membership, but about their next media contract, about what they're doing I mean, there's all sorts of intelligence gathering going on between those two conferences. So the Big Ten, as of now, they do not want to go forward on this. They don't want to, but they may need to. If they see the SEC, if they believe the SEC is about to hit that nuke button. So that's what we're reporting. Thank you, Emma Henderson. Thank you for the $5 holler. Very much appreciate it. Let's go to some other comments, and we're going to open up the phone calls here. Opening up the phone call. Edward the Auburn Tiger, the SEC Quick Strike, we are better prepared. Manic reactions, North Carolina State is in line for AAU membership. Well, they're one of the candidates, aren't they? It's almost like a game of chicken. Lots of cloak and dagger. Big Ten pushing for Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina. D5 Terps. I'm going to... Maryland may be one of those outposts that is part of the communication with ACC schools. And that's as far as I'm going to go with that. Maryland might be playing a bigger role in this than a lot of other Big Ten schools. And that's about as far as I can go with that. But thank you, D5 Terps. I appreciate it. No worse than 4-8. Okay. So you're saying Michigan State 4-8 or better. What is their win total? What is Michigan State's win total? Because if it's, I don't know if that's a bold enough prediction, Anthony. I don't know if I can, it's either a one-pointer or I can't let that in. I'm going to have to look at Michigan State's win total. If it's 3.5 and lower, I can give that a one-pointer. But I'm not sure what Michigan State's win total is. Okay. I will have to look to see if I can book that in. Phone lines are now open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Oh, jeez.
From
Evil Badger.
Evil Badger, can you hold on for a moment? I got some terrible breaking news. Breaking news. Can you hold on a moment?
Yes.
Breaking news. Nebraska running back Mekhi Nelson was arrested Monday today in Florida on a battery charge. On 3, Pete Knuckles has learned. Wow. Unbelievable. Nebraska running back Mekhi Nelson has been arrested on a battery charge. Again, you are innocent until found guilty. We'll keep an eye on that story. But Nelson, going to be a pretty big part of the Nebraska Cornhuskers running game. They liked what they saw last year. Brought a lot of juice to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. We'll follow that story as it goes. Thank you for your patience. Ryan Willie, the floor is yours.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for taking my call. 2 quick things. I'm happy that you're not doing the Notre Dame Wisconsin game watch party. It's the same day as the Ole Miss Louisville game.
Well, wait a second. I haven't made any. Now wait a second. When is Wisconsin's Notre Dame game?
September 6th.
What time?
That Sunday.
What
same
time?
6:30.
And that's the same
Central.
time as the other game?
Yep.
I'll do a double. I'll do them both. We did that a lot last year.
One's on NBC, one's on ABC.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I got on my TV. I got YouTube TV this year. I can do a split screen. I can do them both. We're set up for. Let's go. Yes, we can do Notre Dame, Wisconsin. Thank you for reminding me. Let's go. Come on, Badgers. Come on now. Let's go. Upset, baby. Upset, Ryan Willie.
I'm not particularly upset, but Notre Dame will not cover.
I think the line is 21, correct?
They will not cover.
All right. No, we'll do 2 games. We do 2 games a lot. The win total is 3.5. Okay, Anthony Carlson, I will book you in on that. That's going to be a 1-pointer. All right, Anthony Carlson, you are going to be booked in. All right, go ahead, Ryan Willie. I apologize, sir.
The other thing I wanted to talk about is, okay, I just seen a podcast from John Kurtz. In the past, he's been kind of picking on the Big Ten for this, and now this whole thing was the PCSA, I think it is. And now the Power 4 conferences are going to be able to realign. Now he's talking about, well, the unintended consequences of this bill may have hurt the Big 12. And the thing is that he was so, trying to throw it in the Big Ten and SEC's face when it was just the Big Ten and SEC that couldn't add any schools or anything like that. And now, even if the SES schools want to come up to the G6, they really can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was because even though Texas Tech will never get into the P2, in my opinion, I think it was because Comrade Cody wanted to get into the Big 2. And because he's been passed, Texas Tech has been passed up so many times, he came up with a spell basically to tell everyone that nobody can move. And like I said before, it's going to kill the amount of money in the contracts that the conferences to get. There's no way that Congress can force the streamers and the broadcast networks to pay X amount of dollars for everyone. It just, and I'm afraid that if they go to court, they're actually gonna lose in court because of the bill has to die in Congress. I'm worried that it's gonna pass and it's gonna be deemed illegal in the courts.
All right.
All right. Well, that's all I had.
Okay, I appreciate it, Mr. Ryan Willie. Thank you for the great call, sir.
All right. Thank you.
You got it, buddy.
Bye.
Ryan Willie brings up a fear that a lot of people would have. What if the bill passes and the Big Ten and SEC lose in court? Now everything's locked in.
From
Rock and Rant.
Rock and Rant, the floor is yours. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Greg. And I got a bone to pick, not with you, but with the information, because it doesn't make any sense to me, though what you said makes sense, and I'll try to explain.
Yep.
I don't understand how things would pivot. Not that these things aren't always fluid, so I get that. I understand that. But if you had a president's meeting this past week to talk about realignment,
They did.
And if it was an exit, if the, I'm not saying it was going to happen, right? If the legislation got a floor vote or something like that, I understand. But either the whole situation is existential threat or it's not. It wasn't like, well, it's maybe a threat, and maybe if the SEC does something, we need to do something. I don't know that they suddenly got an idea on Sunday that maybe the media dollars weren't there. I mean, the situation about negotiating for your new contract for a new media partner has been the same in the last couple of weeks, right? 1 week relative to 2, 3, 5 years distance is a drop in the bucket. So that stuff was still on the table when the presidents met. So that just doesn't make any sense, because it was either a massive threat that you were worried about that was going to force you to do a quick strike if X happened, or it wasn't, right? And then, Greg, you still needed X to happen, the bill to possibly move forward to expedite and accelerate everything you're talking about. So it's sort of confusing, not because you're not articulating it correctly, but it's then confusing to then hear from possible other sources that are familiar with this, that not only could things be changing because it wasn't on their timeline. Well, we knew it wasn't on their timeline. Or at least we thought it wasn't on their timeline. And not only is it not necessarily on their timeline, but now it's more likely than not that even if the Senate moves and this legislation passes, the information that you're getting now is that it's probably better than 50-50, because you're saying the chalk is that they won't expand. That just seems fundamentally weird, unless they suddenly, the proverbial they, because I don't know who, right? Suddenly got some information that, whatever, they couldn't get money from Amazon, or they couldn't get, they had no idea that they couldn't make Oregon and Washington whole again. And I guess maybe that would be the only explanation. It just seems strange to have developed now.
Okay. First of all, it would be harder to get more money for Oregon and Washington, and harder to get Amazon on board, and all that quickly happened if they did it now. But that's not the. So let me add a little bit more context to this. It is an existential threat to the Big Ten, but it's a threat regardless to the Big Ten if they expand it or not. And their reasoning is if this bill passes how it's written, and if they don't win in the courts, the Big Ten, they think they will, but if they don't win in the courts, it doesn't matter if they're a conference of 18 schools or 24 schools. The conference literally doesn't exist anymore if this bill passes and if they can't win in the courts. That's where we're at. Because the bill, according to the Big Ten and the SEC, allows the government to come back in and look at the whole structure in years ahead. That's what the bill does. It says it in the bill. So it's a crisis. It's an existential threat to the Big Ten, regardless of the expansion piece. Now,
for sure, I understand that.
So how the Big Ten is looking at it is, man, if we knew that the SEC was not going to expand right now, we wouldn't expand right now. And we would battle this in the courts as is. But the thing is they're looking at the SEC and they're like, damn, this bill, this silo, we've got to do everything to prepare just in case we have to flip that switch. I don't know. I think that's where we are, or at least the people that I talk to, that's what they truly believe. That's where we are right now. Like, the Big Ten is going to get ready, but if everything being even, they'd rather not hit the button unless SEC pushes it first, or the Big Ten knows that the SEC is going to push it, then they'll go ahead. But they just don't want to do it right now because they think they would get a whole better deal entirely as a whole a year from now, 18 months from now, 2 years from now. And also, if the Big Ten is going to do a big scoop, and they probably would. I mean, that's what they probably want. I don't. Nobody believes in this limit of that I talked to. This limit of 20. That there are schools on their list that they really, really, really want to take another look. There's schools in the Big Ten that want them to give them all the possibility of expanding, and there's a couple of schools on that list that are not available right now. So that's a problem that the SEC doesn't have. There's like 5 different categories on how this is a lot easier for the SEC to do the quick strike than the Big Ten, even though the Big Ten is fully prepared to do it if they have to. Hopefully that answers. I don't know. It's a complicated.
It does, but on the flip side, it does. Like everything I understand what you're saying and I get it. The flip side is that if you're the Big Ten and you think it's an existential threat regardless, right? Regardless of expansion, because you think in 5 years or 10 years that the government can intercede, on the research side, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's probably true that they could take that, but the government already can do that because most of the research grants that are coming in federally funded have already gotten politicized of late anyway, right? In different forms, maybe it's not in wholesale. If you think that, but if you're worried about that bigger thing, because you're an academic university and for the Big Ten schools, athletics, as big as it is relatively nothing compared to billions of dollars of research across the board, depending upon what the university goes. The thing you want, though, right now is what is the best argument that could hold up in court to throw part of this out? And you can make an argument that having to go down the road with whoever, I'm not even saying it has to be Miami, doesn't really matter. It could just be 2 for now, and if you want to get 4 more later who can't get out of the Big 12 for 4 years or whatever it might be. But one that you might have the strongest argument in court on constitutionally would be the freedom of association and expansion, even though it might not be the most important part of the existential threat, would be the lever you want to pull now to get into court over it, right? Because then you could be arguing about, especially with a private institution, Duke or Miami, it's not like state controlled, isn't government funded. Maybe that gives you a stronger thing. So I don't know. I just find it interesting. Not that I'm doubting you or doubting any of the information. It just seems extremely contradictory in a few sources. And if you're my last thing, and I'll stop and hear what you have to say and listen to what others have to say, is this the other day we're also hearing is this all this talk which could also just be about putting it out there to kind of say that we might expand to get Congress to think about not doing this under that threat and having to then duke it out. The last thing you want to do is leak out that we might not expand, even if you guys go that way, because if it's a leverage play with Congress as opposed to the networks, you're leaking out through various sources in some way. And again, I'm not saying they're intentionally doing it, but somehow one way or the other, you're being able to report, which I'm assuming means that you're in a good spot to do that in multiple ways of they're, coming through with it. You're letting people know that indirectly that they might not be valid about that threat, right? So it takes away the threat and lobbying pressure to make the bill not get passed in the first place.
Okay, and all that makes sense. There's another component to this, is that if the Big Ten expand, which they might, okay, this all still might happen, right? If they do the quick strike and they expand, more than likely, not only are they going to expand going against this bill, but they're also probably going to be forced to do an extension of the current contract.
Right.
And that would hurt the Big Ten institutions, because if they think if they wait, again, it's about leverage, right? And yeah, the Fox and CB, they might, and that might even hurt the schools that they're bringing in, because the extension is going to go out a few years past 2030. So there's a lot to this, and I might not even understand all of it. And hopefully I am communicating well enough, but maybe I'm not. But all I can say is the Big Ten, they're prepared. They're prepared. They are prepared. But nothing is done. Nothing is imminent, like the Ross Dellinger report. The talks have sped up. People are prepared. But if everything being even, that's probably the best way of saying it. If everything was like, if the Big Ten, if they knew that this wasn't going to pass, all that stuff, if they knew that the SEC wasn't going to, they would not, this is not what they want to do. But they may need to do it. That's the only way I can put it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. It's never boring.
Nope, it's never boring. I appreciate it, sir.
All right, be good, Greg.
Yeah, beautiful call. It's just, overall, it's a lot easier for the SEC to be more active right now. Whoops, hold on. I screwed up.
From
Love Sports.
I love sports. Is that who is on the line?
It sure is. I'm sorry, I messed up the introduction. I've called back so many times, I messed up.
Yeah.
How are you today, Greg?
Good. Can you hold on for just 1 second?
Yes, sir. Of course.
I appreciate it. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina. Prayers for Chris Johnson, former ECU Pirate and NFL great, diagnosed with a pretty aggressive form of ALS. I did see that former Titan, Tennessee Titan. I did see that report. I saw the interview with him and his wife. My heart goes out to Chris Johnson and his loved ones. My prayers to him. In fact, hold on 1 second. I'll be back here in 2 seconds. I just want to show you guys a picture here. Hold on, everybody. Okay, let's see here. Let's see if I can show you guys this. It's going to be hard to see, but this is a picture of my 1980 Robbinsdale Yankees Little League team. There's me right there. You probably can't see it, but the head coach, Ken Koss, he is the guy in the middle of the picture, standing there, the tall guy, the big guy. Middle of the picture, our head coach, our manager of the Robbinsdale Yankees Little League team. We went to the finals of the state of Minnesota. Championship game, and we lost 13-0 to East Tonka. But anyways, he came down with ALS about 2 years after that picture was taken. And he was taken from us quickly thereafter. They did not have the... they can extend the lives of a lot of ALS patients now, technology or whatever. In the Chris Johnson story, they talked about he's taken experimental drugs and he's taken something that takes down his inflammation that helps his body fight the ALS as long as it can. But a true sad story, and I pray that one day we find that one thing that beats ALS, because it's a horrible, horrible disease. So our prayers to Chris Johnson and his family. Thank you for bringing that up, Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina. Go ahead, caller. And again, what is your handle name? I love sports, or what is it?
Yeah, no, it's just Love Sports, Greg.
Love Sports. Okay, thank you for calling. I appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Greg. First of all, I want to thank you for all of your reporting and all your opining on these shows about conference realignment. It's one of my favorite subjects, and I've been following it for years. I had a little exchange on the chat board with Cal Bears yesterday. That person told me something I already knew, but what I wanted to ask you was, if this goes through, the Cruz bill threatens to get passed,
Yep.
and the ACC starts losing these schools to the Big Ten and SEC, wouldn't you think that the ESPN would have a clause in their contract with the ACC saying, hey, man, if you guys lose 2, 4, 6 schools, without negotiation, we're going to come in there and we're going to cut how much money we pay you because you've lost so many big brands and so many big markets, rather than being obligated to pay them throughout the whole period out through 2036. Do you know if that's the case, or can you find out?
I think it's been reported that they can readjust that Tier 1 contract. Absolutely. Now remember, those ACC schools that are remaining, they're going to get a lot of exit fee money, right?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
But we don't know how that's going to be distributed. We don't know if that begins right away, if that's a yearly distribution, if that's a lump sum near the end of their date, of the current we don't know how that is going to work. So we're missing that piece of the puzzle. But yeah, it has been reported that ESPN could adjust the media payouts.
And they could do that immediately, and I assume without negotiation. They can say, look, you've lost all these guys. We're not paying you X, we're paying you 60% of X.
I think so, yes.
Okay, now the reason I asked that question, everybody's been focusing on the ACC's relationship with the Power 2. I'm a Big 12 guy. So that's the reason I asked that question. Would there be any chance that the Big 12 could get Pitt, Louisville, and whoever else might be available to move over to the Big 12? I understand they would have to pay the same enormous exit fee to come to the Big 12 that those other guys are paying to get to the Power 2, where they're going to make a ton more money. What can the Big 12 do to get those schools, Pitt, Louisville, if anything? Or should they pursue schools like South Florida and UConn, et cetera, because that'll be their last chance to expand? Because we know the ACC is going to backfill with those schools.
Yeah, I don't know, and I've been pretty open about this. I have no idea what are the chances of the Big 12 being able to poach the ACC and the ACC being able to poach the Big 12. The top reason is how big or small of the scoops will it be from the Big 10 and the SEC taking schools from the ACC, right? We don't know the answer to that. Maybe there's only 4 schools coming out of the ACC instead of 6 or 8 or more. Number 2, we do not know how it's going to be distributed, those exit fees. That's going to play a big part of it. We don't know who immediately the ACC is going to attempt to backfill. Maybe ESPN will support those schools. Maybe the ACC will go after West Virginia, for example, or a couple other Big 12 schools and say, we'll keep our Tier 1 payouts, and you're also going to have the ACC network, which brings in way more money than the Big 12 ESPN Plus third-tier content type of contracts. So we just don't know. I know this sounds like a cop-out, but we're going to have to wait and see, after the Big 10 and ACC actually act. That's why I don't think, we've had a few comments in the comments section, why doesn't the Big 12 be the first one to strike? Because they'd be unsuccessful. I don't think they'd be successful until the ACC schools are not going to make any decisions until they know who's exactly leaving their conference. So that's a long way of me saying to you, sir, I have no idea.
That's fair enough. And if you would, in the future, when you get information about how this all relates to the Big 12, I hope and I'm sure you will keep us updated on that aspect, because that's what matters to me. And again, I want to thank you for all of your work and effort. We really do appreciate it, Greg. Thank you.
I appreciate your kind words, sir. Thank you, and call again. All right?
Thank you.
You got it. Beautiful call from Love Sports, a new caller here at Peek Around the Corner. Hopefully we'll hear from them real soon. Again, hold on.
from?
Edward, the Auburn Tiger.
Edward, the Auburn Tiger. Can you hold on for a moment, please?
I sure can.
I got some very kind super chats here. Helmer Hennison, $5 holla. Hold on, everybody. So no odds on if there will be a quick strike or where UVA will go. I don't think the quick strike is the chalk, but it has been a growing possibility, because the possibility of there being conference expansion was somewhere around 0 to 1% until the Cruz-Cantwell bill. I should say the possibility of an expansion happening in late 26 or early 27, there was a 0 to 1% chance of that happening. But with the Cantwell Cruz bill, all of this has been quickened, all of the talks, all the plans. I still wouldn't call it a chalk, and I don't believe I've ever called it a chalk. In fact, we have said we don't believe anything is quite operational yet. It's just the chances have risen greatly. But I don't think it's quite the chalk. I don't think it's quite over 50%. But we'll keep an eye on things and see what happens. All right? And where will Virginia go? In the latest Holy Smokes Theater, we had them standing right in the middle of the aisle, or sitting in the middle of the aisle. Virginia is going to want to go where North Carolina goes. So if you can tell me where North Carolina is going to go, Virginia, there's a better chance of Virginia going there than the other conference. And right now we've got it slightly leaning North Carolina going to the SEC. But I'll make this statement again. The Big Ten ain't going to give up on North Carolina until they know 100% sure that North Carolina is going to the SEC. We've been saying that for 3 years as well, and it's true today. It's still true today. Another example and indication of why nothing is done, nothing is settled. We don't think any deal has been done. Edward, the Auburn Tiger, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir. I appreciate it.
Hey, Greg, another great show. Appreciate all the work that you do, man. You are grinding every day, and you are keeping us in the peak around the corner. So thank you for all that you do.
I appreciate your kind words.
I know to a lot of people, to some people, this may be, I guess, some sad news that you're talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, the Big Ten is a great conference. You know, they're a championship conference. They're going to be fine. Greg, I know you're not saying that this in some way taints the Big Ten. They are a great conference. And I believe they will be fine. I believe those teams will get what they need to get, because I believe that the Big Ten has a plan. But with that being said, if you go backwards, Greg, you have Florida State, you have Clemson taking the ACC to court, trying to get out of the conference.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of the fight, in the middle of the struggle, here steps in ESPN. Now, ESPN is in the college football business. I mean, they have lorded over this business for a long time, and they have cornered the market. You have them involved with the ACC. You have them involved with the SEC. And so ESPN steps into these, I'm going to call them negotiations, even though it was court system. And they performed and allowed and planned and navigated a controlled demolition of the ACC. I mean, that's basically what this is, okay? Mm-hmm. And so my thinking and what seems to be playing out, that there's no way a company like ESPN, who's in the business of making money, who's in the business of controlling inventory, maximizing its potential. There's no way you make a plan like that without a plan moving down the road. And so I personally believe that they made this plan. They allowed the ACC, they allowed the Florida State these teams to experience a controlled demolition, which means there's going to be movement, but you have to believe that ESPN is going to be part of decision making when it comes to those movements. I personally believe that there's no way ESPN does this and not communicate with the SEC, not communicate with the ACC, and have a plan that when this happens, whether it's this year, obviously things have been sped up, or 2 years from now, they know from a ballpark figure and a ballpark plan what this should look like. And I believe we're seeing that bear out because with this new bill that's on the horizons, and it's based on what I'm hearing from you, and based on what the Florida State money perch said, it seems that the SEC and ESPN is positioned to do this quick strike realignment because the road has already been being laid. And I believe that decision was made when they allowed this demolition to take place, which is why the SEC and ESPN is prepared. They talked about these teams. They talked about these plans. I believe the SEC knows a projection of what it's going to look like when these teams come. Now, obviously, they didn't have all these details planned out because no one knows the bill was going to come like this. No one knows that everything's going to be accelerated.
Yeah.
But because of planning that has been taking place throughout the years, and even so, it wasn't meant for now. It has prepared them from this very hour. And I don't believe that you would read that letter from the Florida State money perch on your program if you did not take stock in what that man said in that letter. Mm-hmm. And according to what I'm hearing and what you read and what was said, the Florida State money perch is anticipating that if they schedule the voting of this bill, all systems go.
Well, he didn't quite. He said at the scheduling of the bill, Florida State will have to raise their preparation. They're going to probably have to have another meeting and all that. So it doesn't mean that.
He said several teams did. He said several, but he didn't say maybe. He didn't say, I think this is going to happen. He says if they schedule a meeting, what it seems that he does know is that schools are going to be planning meetings. And at that moment, be deciding, based on what they hear from the SEC, based upon the plans that's with the ESPN, that they're going to make a move. Mm-hmm. That's what it sounded like to me when you read everything out, which tells me there's been a plan, which tells me that this has been thought out, even though it wasn't meant for this time. It wasn't meant for this time. I believe that. But it also, what I'm hearing too, Greg, is all of this confirms to me that there is an early media negotiation between the SEC and ESPN. Because there's no way you will make a move, plan a move. I understand the risk part of it, figuring if they make the bill, everything's locked in, so I get that part of it. But there's no way, based on what I just heard you say, that the SEC is better positioned to make a move like this than the Big Ten. That, to me, confirms to a large degree that the SEC and ESPN has been, is, and will continue to be in these negotiations, this realignment, new reimagined conference realignment media package, that it is in motion. And that's why I personally believe that if they do make a schedule, all systems are go, Greg. All systems are go. And based on what you said, it is better to be on this side bringing in teams. Of course, you don't know that for sure, not than being on the other side, not having done realignment, and then have to order that in courts to win over a bill like this. I'm gonna let you say all the last words. Appreciate all that you do, sir. You keep grinding. Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate it, Edward. Thank you very much for those kind words. Great call. And again, this is just another live show, another example that the SEC and the Big Ten, these are two completely different conferences. The way they operate, there's similarities, of course, but they're just, the Big Ten is more of a, Big Ten is a big guy, right? It's a big conference. It has a more. They have to check in with each other more. They have to. It's a national conference. It's more diverse. They got more media partners. It's more of a work to get to something. It's not work. I'm not. They're just two completely different conferences. And in this example, the SEC has a little bit more agility. They both have prepared. They both have their positive, negatives, all that stuff. Just the SEC is a little bit more. And the Big Ten is and of course the Big Ten, it's like, if they get the info, if they get the intelligence that the SEC is about to move, then they're going to be out. Then they're going to be prepared to be able to quickly do something. But right now, the Big Ten would rather not this happen. But we'll see. At this time, not here in the near future. Frank Potter, thank you, Edward. I appreciate it. Frank Potter, $10 holla. Pro rata growth is for a conference is positive for regional advertisers and networks. Even Notre Dame would barely move the needle for the 18-team conference. New markets, NC, Virginia add value by adding volume. Well, thank you for the $10 holler. I agree with a lot of that, except for Notre Dame would move the needle because that's already baked in. Notre Dame is already in the current Big Ten contract. And it's been reported when it happened, it's a big number, and Notre Dame would lift everyone else's boats higher, and they would go higher. So the Notre Dame is the exception to all of this. If Notre Dame called the Big Ten today, Big Ten, Big Ten would move out. They would be much quicker than the Southeastern Conference. Notre Dame is the exception to all the reporting, like they usually are when it comes to today's development. Thank you, Frank Potter. Thank you for the $10 holler. We got Evil Badger, SEC propaganda. Evil Badger doesn't like SEC propaganda. He doesn't like Big Ten he doesn't like Golden Gopher propaganda. He's anti-Golden Gopher propaganda and SEC propaganda. OBD done. $10 holler from the purple and gold. Absolutely. OPD Dunn has nailed it once again. So what you're telling me, Greg, is that the SEC is from Mars, man, and the Big Ten is from Venus, woman. I'm trying to figure out a way that statement is not 100% accurate. And I can't figure it. That is the most accurate statement that has been said on this channel today from all the PATC family members and your host. That is absolutely true. Absolutely true. And I'm going to stop it there because I think I might get in trouble if I press the envelope on that. Thank you, OPD Dunn. I appreciate your incredible generosity and your very creative writing, like always. I want to thank Evil Badger for what he has done for this program. Once again, thank you, Ryan Willie. I very much appreciate it. Frank Potter, the Virginia Tech Hokie, thank you very much. Helmer Hennison, very great questions once again. Anthony Carlson, and I do declare Michigan State. Mohr Simmons, gifted membership. Thank you so much. The Arkansas Razorback, Neil Kelsel. Thank you, Noel Berman, the Utah Ute Carson. Thank you, everybody, for your generosity, for your time. I do appreciate it. Before you leave, please smash the like button. Subscribe and get yourself notified. We'll be coming on live tomorrow on June 30th, Tuesday. So make sure you are here because who knows? Who knows what story breaks from here until tomorrow? Who knows what... who knows? It's buckle up, brace for impact, keep your head on a swivel. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, y'all take great care of each other. And our prayers go out to Chris Johnson and his family. Until then, from all of us to all of you, we'll see you next time. God, family, Golden Gophers.